We're going to do just a real quick run through of my live sounds after I've updated to 5.03. I did a video recently, probably about 3 weeks ago, where I went through a lot of these sounds and I was still kind of struggling with them. I was gearing up for a bunch of gigs. I actually did have the gigs and it was pretty fun, but I learned a bunch. So I'm going to kind of show you some of the stuff I've got, talk about a few things that I've done a little bit differently. The first preset that I use a lot is this Deluxe Reverb. My regular amp is a 1970 Defender Deluxe Reverb with a Celestion greenback in it. I use it a lot. So this is actually the Deluxe Reverb model, the vibrato channel, because I like using that on my actual amp. The cabinet I'm using is actually a Celestion IR. It's not one of the factory ones. If I share this set of presets, I'm going to have to share it without the IR, or I'll put something factory in there that's kind of close. Just as a comparison, this is the basic sound, and this is what you were hearing in the little demonstration video at the beginning. This is kind of the next closest thing I could figure out here. The Celestion IR has a Royer 121 and an SM57 microphone on it. So the combination is kind of cool. I can't really reproduce it that great, but my suggestion is get the Celestion IR pack, but that's just me. I don't make any money off of it. I'm not endorsed by Celestion. That's just my favorite actual greenback IR, and I use it quite a bit. This preset is set up basically for the beginning of a cover band gig. So I've got this clean sound, slight bit of compression on it. And it's good for the beginning part of a night. Most of my sounds are pretty dry. I play in some pretty live environments, and when I play on bigger stages, the sound people generally tend to like to be able to do what they want to with my sound for front of house. So I give them this sound. Now this is just a little bit of reverb, London plate. My chorus is a Dimension chorus. Basically, it's the same amp as the clean sound. A little out of tune. Phaser, I use this quite a bit. I have two lead sounds, and one of them is pretty clean. You hear both of them in the performance video at the beginning, and this one is, funny enough, it's the Esoteric RCB, which is essentially the exotic RC booster. Up until just a few years ago, that was kind of my main clean boost. I've kind of switched in my regular pedal board to an Emerson M drive, but they kind of do the same thing. And I just, out of everything, this is the coolest way to get the clean, not dirty lead sound that I need for some of these tunes. I have a second one, and this is actually based off of the Timmy. Not super rockin', but enough for most of what I'm doing in the beginning of a night in a cover gig. The second amp I use the most is the Silver Jubilee, or the Brit Silver model. I tend to like this one. I've thought about it, and I owned an original Silver Jubilee in the 80s when I was a teenager, and I think that maybe has shaped what I want out of a Marshall. I keep trying like Plexis and the 2204 and all of the other Marshall models in there. This is the one I always kind of come back to, and it just works really good. Once again, fairly dry for a rhythm sound. I've got a wet version of it. Probably closer to most people's dry sounds. The lead sound. All right, that's it's just got a little graphic EQ on it. It shapes off a little bit of the high end, so it's a little smoother. Almost all of these have a lead sound that's kind of got a little bit of a bump in the output block. This preset also, we We generally tend to play a lot of fun rock songs. One of the few non-80s tunes we do is Stacy's Mom. All right, but the solo's got this keyboard doubling thing. So what I've done is I've taken the synth block and added a sawtooth. Let's get back to this thing here. Basically, one voice that's a sawtooth at the same octave, and then something an octave higher with a square wave. It's a little glitchy sometimes. I gotta play really clean. Now, one of the things that I always have to contend with is the fact that I'm using an EVPXM monitor on stage when I'm using this, because I don't really want to use in-ears only. I don't like using my vocal monitor for guitar. My vocal monitor, the wedge that I have a lot of the time, doesn't sound very good for this. So I've got a really good sounding wedge, but it sounds kind of different. And then when everything's cranked up, everything sounds a little bit different. So the synth, I listened to a playback of this, and the synthesizer is kind of heavy in this, and you barely hear it when I play live. And a lot of these sounds, the balances might seem like some of them are boosted louder than they need to be. And that's partially to help me self-mix my sounds on a stage where we don't have a sound person. I generally end up, because everything, I don't have knobs to tweak and things to play with quite so easily. I've got everything kind of shaped dynamic wise. So like when we go from a crunch sound for rhythm, right, we got a little bit of a boost in the lead sound, but also a little bit of shaping EQ wise. A lot of these sounds, I'm using scene controller, so the cleaner version of it. You can kind of look at the drive and versus the crunch. Actually, the lead sounds about the same. But a lot of these, so I'm not switching amps. I'm using the scene controllers in order to make everything a lot cleaner and without gaps and whatnot. The new version of the firmware 5.03, there seems to be less in the way of gaps between changes. I'm going to switch to a preset. Actually, I'll do this in a second. I had another gig. I had to build a preset for a band that was like a funk rock band that needed clean and crunch in the same preset, and I mixed a bunch of amps. We're going to do that with the Les Paul, though. It's going to sound a bit different. I still really like the Morgan AC20 model. I use it a lot on. I keep it pretty simple. The cabinet is a stock factory IR, the one that goes with this, and I'm combining the 121 and the SM57 IRs. The nice thing is that almost all of that was just me using my volume control on the guitar, going on my wet and kind of for the leads on this, I do have a different preset. Another sound on this preset, we tend to play Mr. Brightside in most of the gigs I play. I like having, this is one of the few sounds I like having all of that. It's kind of hard to play. I'm going to stand up and let you see my hands real quick. Cramming my big fat finger, especially when I play the Les Paul. Having all that stuff on there is kind of the secret sauce that makes me sound not quite so bad. One of the presets I did steal almost completely out of the Austin Buddy preset pack was the 59 Bassman, which I really like how they did that. I've got a couple other like experimenting a little bit, fuzz fade. All right, we're gonna swap. This is the guitar I use quite a bit. It's a 2004 Les Paul Standard in the lovely Latte Cream. It's pretty beat the heck, and it's got Burstbucker Pro as a stock pickup, and then I hated the Burstbucker neck pickup. This is just a Seymour Duncan 59. Basically, I'm just going to give you a little bit of each preset, just with the humbuckers. These strings are pretty beat up, so I'm not going to give you too much because they're not staying in tune very well. All right, so I did have a really fun gig last weekend at a place called the Coach House here in Southern California. I got to play someone else's original music. It's a really funky rock band, and I needed sounds that were both clean and crunchy, and I had a couple other little affected things. So I took a chance and I combined amps in the same preset, hoping there wasn't a whole lot of dropout. So here's my clean sound. Basically just my deluxe from the other patch. Then my crunch, right, that's the Brit Silver. Because there's a lot of, the crunchy stuff is usually like single note riffs. I kind of tweaked the sound of the Jubilee just a little bit, but it should be still the same, same basic amp sound. I'm running a little crunchier than I normally run it, and then I'm using the Leon Todd TV mix cabinet. So one of the sounds I needed was a little bit more Chili Peppers. Would have been better with a Strat, but I was playing a Les Paul for most of the night. So I just pushed it with an RC booster. Here's the typical clean sound. All right, and that's kind of the mildly crunchy, a little bit wetter, John Frusciante kind of thing that I needed for some tunes. Now, regardless of where I was at, I just used the amp. I don't even remember if I did much to this. Actually, yeah. So I changed the boost and the saturation apparently a little bit in the preamp section using scene controls. This is the thin one. Huh. I don't even remember what I did. I was just kind of tweaking things till they sounded cool. Anyway, so the solo sound. That seemed to fit the gig better. And then I did have my phaser. And then I needed a tremolo for one song. The cool thing about that show was that they recorded it, fully multi-tracked everything, and did a 3-camera shoot. So there might actually be some FM3 in the wild of me playing coming up in the next couple months or so. It's almost like a completely recorded live concert, so we'll kind of see what happens with that. But the cool thing, and the thing that I discovered, is that I really like the FM3 for a lot of stuff. I did have a gig that was more Caribbean music, reggae and calypso music on with steel drum players, like a full band, bass, drums, 2 pan players, and then me playing guitar. And I really liked using my regular amp for that. I made a point of not bringing this just because I wanted to try it, and that was really kind of the sound. I mean, it's a lot of this, like, you know. And for that style of music, I could use it. Obviously, I could use the FM3 with it, but my amp still kind of wins that contest. So anyway, real quick, I will try and have some of these presets put out. I have to kind of take out some of the stuff that I've stolen from either the Live Gold preset pack that I paid for, or IRs that I've paid for. But what I'll do is I'll get them as close as possible with notes as to where you can get the bits and pieces. If you like this stuff, go ahead and hit subscribe, give me a thumbs up, all that stuff. This is NAMM week, so I'll actually be playing at Marco Bass Guitars at their booth tomorrow. You might not even see this before it's over. And I'll be kind of around. I'm going to have a bunch of product stuff and maybe even some live streams from the show, so kind of keep an eye on the channel. And if not, I will see you next week. Thanks a lot.